I'll start out with Dr. Maggie Davis and Dr. McIlveene with the University of West Florida, and we'd like to speak about your research today that you've had published, and it's some very interesting results about workaholism for remote at-home workforce. We think that it's a great thing that we can work at home and maybe have work-life balance, but you found some different results that have great implications for managers to implement in the field. So tell us about your research. Would you like to give it a start, Ken?
Sure. So this research is based off of our personal experience, hearing stories from our family, friends who were working from home remotely during the pandemic and talking about how they felt like they were working all the time and they couldn't turn it off. There was no work-life balance or separation. So we studied that to see if that was really the case, and our findings suggest that certain personality types in certain environments are susceptible to workaholic behaviors.
Okay, all right. So, wow, certain personality types. So are those your star players, or are those the ones that you need more coaching on and bring them up to star players?
Yeah, so those would be your star players. What we noticed was we measured the big 5 traits, but specifically your conscientious employees. So conscientiousness is your individuals who are high in that are highly organized, highly dependable, very attentive to detail, maybe a little bit prone at very high levels to perfectionism and things like that, but they are very task-oriented, good at getting the job done. But what we found was that in certain environments specifically with low situation strength, so that's your lack of task clarity, communication that isn't clear between the manager and the employee, things like that. This is what causes these individuals to feel they have more experiences of negative affect. So experiencing more depression, anxiety, sadness, frustration day to day in the job, which then causes them to engage in workaholism behavior.
So more work to make that they think they're going to make themselves feel better, but then it perpetuates and they feel worse still, right?
Right.
You came up, Tim, with a great example with hiking through the woods. Can you explain
Sure.
that?
So when we think about situational strength, so think of a strong situational strength environment like a hiking trail that's clearly marked. Maybe it's paved, definitely has signs, you know where you're going, you see the map, you see it's very clear where you're going, what you're doing. Whereas in a low situational strength environment, it's just sort of like, good luck, just go through the woods and do your best you can. So we get our situational strength cues from like our boss, who would be like, hey, what are you still doing here? It's 7 o'clock, you need to go home. Or your coworkers, you see your coworkers going home at 5:30, whatever the case may be. But when you work from home, you don't have that. So what our findings suggest is that people rely on their own, I guess, perspective on that. So if you're highly conscientious, you're not really sure how much is enough. And so you just kind of do more and more because you don't have anyone around to say, hey, it's time to hang it up.
So if a manager has this situation going on, what are you suggesting that your research indicates managers can do to help to reduce workaholism among their very best employees?
Well, a lot of what we suggest are things that I did as a manager of people, teams across the country, managing them remotely. Some of them did work from home. But the first one is managers should be aware of their employees. It's not hard to figure out who your most conscientious employees are. Just the quality of their work output, their conscientiousness, the whole thing. So first off, know your employees. So be on the lookout. Are you getting emails at 11 o'clock at night, Sunday morning, whatever, so you can have an intervention if you need to, so to speak. Secondly, being very clear on tasks, like I want this and I want it this way. So that way, if you're highly conscientious and you get a request, you might think that your boss wants a 12-page report, and really just a summary would suffice. So you're not asking the employee to work more than they need to. Secondly, get clarity on dates. So I want it due by a certain time, a certain day. So that way an employee doesn't think everything's due at once and they stay up all night to work. And then I think lastly, and this is really important, implementing a permission structure where the employee can be like, hey, you may not know this, but I've got 6 other things going on, so can you help me figure out what's the most important thing? And so just having that in place where the manager can be like, this is the most important, that can wait till next week, kind of a thing.
So Maggie, you've had this published in a very highly regarded publication. Can you tell us about that?
We have, so ironically, we actually wrote it up initially for a scholarly academic journal. And then the more we started talking about it, we were like, you know what, we want to really change the audience on this. We want practitioners to read this. We think it's something that can be beneficial for practitioners across all industries. So this is why we targeted California Management Review for publication, and we're really excited that we did. The viewership has been doing very well since it was published.
Excellent. Very good. Well, thank you so much for spending time with us today to help us understand the importance of your research and the connectivity of your research to good business, and can be used out in the field to help the workforce and help management teams to retain the very best employees, right? So thank you also. I'd like to present to you the first recipients of our Dean's List, the Dean's Award for Excellence in Research. So thank you so much for being here today and taking your time, and we look forward to the next research findings that I'm sure you already have underway.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the interest, and thank you for the award.
Yes, thank you, Dean Keller.
Thank you.